Ever get the feeling that, like, picture perfect towns, the ones where life just seems peaceful and everyone knows each other?
Oh, yeah.
Ever get the feeling that those towns hide dark secrets?
Definitely.
Well, today we're diving into one of those stories, the story of Rachel Delando, a teacher in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
And it's a story that really pulls you in. Small town, tangled relationships,
Yeah.
alleged police corruption.
Wow.
And not just one, but two murders,
Ah.
all connected, even years apart.
This episode had so many twists and turns. Like 1 minute you're reading about steamy car encounters,
Oh my gosh,
and the
right.
next it's a leaked police report, a broken engagement, a 6-carat diamond ring just left behind.
And the fact that both victims, they were last seen with the same person getting ice cream, it makes you wonder, what really goes on behind closed doors.
Okay, so let's start with Rachel. We're talking about a beloved teacher, strong Italian heritage, close to her family, lived with her parents.
Yeah, devoted daughter. And the episode mentions how much she wanted to get married, have a family.
That's right. And that's what led her to Frank Catropa, successful businessman. Really taken with Rachel, but hesitant to commit, it seems.
It's true. They had these extravagant dates, a proposal in Paris,
Wow.
and that 6-carat diamond ring.
Sounds like a fairy tale.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But behind all the glitz and glam, there were clashes about the wedding, a prenup that caused tension between Rachel and her mother, and then, well, a messy breakup.
These weren't just little disagreements, right?
No, these reveal a deeper struggle, maybe a power dynamic.
Yeah.
And then things get even more, how do we say, scandalous.
Okay.
Late one night, two police officers, they find Rachel in a parked car with a 17-year-old student, Sheldon Jeter Jr.
Oh, wow.
Steamed windows, passenger seat recline. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the rumors?
Especially in a small town.
Exactly. Everyone's talking. Now, Rachel, she said it was innocent, just trying to help a former student who was struggling.
Yeah.
And the officers, they seem to believe her, let them go without filing a report. Well, at least not right away.
But of course, things like this, they always come out.
A year later, a detailed police report about that night, it surfaces, and it doesn't just surface, it gets leaked. To the media, Rachel's school, her former best friend.
Wow. That's harsh.
It was a total takedown. The episode even mentions sensitive personal details were in that report.
Oof. That's rough.
Reputation tarnished, put on leave from her job. Everyone's pointing fingers. Who leaked it? Why? Was it revenge, trying to discredit her? Or was there a darker motive, something connected to the underbelly of Aliquippa?
And as if things weren't messy enough, Rachel starts dating Rashawn Bolton. Wait, did I hear that right?
Did. And here's the kicker. Rashawn is Sheldon's half-brother, the student from the parked car. Talk about a tangled web.
So we've got a love triangle, a leaked report, and a town full of rumors. So where do the suspicions lie?
Two figures stand out. Sheldon, the student, potentially volatile connection to Rachel, and Frank, the ex-fiancé, motive, access to that report.
Let's start with Sheldon. Was he really obsessed with Rachel, like the Delando family said?
Well, the podcast presents conflicting accounts. Sheldon says they had a sexual relationship, which Rachel's family denies completely. But regardless, his reaction to her death was odd.
Odd how?
Witnesses said he was detached, unemotional, and remember, he was later convicted of murdering his roommate, Tyreek Pugh, after going for ice cream.
Wow, okay, that's chilling. Those parallels are, they're hard to ignore. But you said convicted only for Tyreek's murder.
Right. The district attorney, he publicly named Sheldon as the prime suspect in Rachel's case, but not enough evidence to charge him.
Okay, so Sheldon's connected to Rachel, no doubt. But there's another figure, Frank Catropa. Frank, he had access to the leaked report. And their breakup, it wasn't exactly friendly. Makes you wonder, was there bad blood? Maybe even, revenge.
It's possible. Think about it. Rachel might have been helping an investigation into police corruption in Aliquippa.
Oh, right.
If Frank had connections, he could have seen her as a threat.
Yeah, that makes sense. The episode mentions he insisted he was innocent, even offered an alibi, right?
It did, yeah. Absolutely adamant. Even appeared publicly with his lawyer. But there's this one detail that's just weird.
The fake alibi shirt.
Exactly. It's like almost taunting. You know, whether he meant it or not, it adds to the mystery.
Okay, so we have Sheldon with a shady past and a
Yeah.
similar murder conviction. And we've got Frank, motive, access, and that shirt. It's a lot.
And we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room,
Yeah.
the Aliquippa Police Department.
Right.
The episode goes deep into some pretty disturbing allegations of misconduct and corruption.
This isn't just a few bad cops, right? This sounds like a pattern.
Yeah, it's more than isolated incidents. The police chief, suspended for alleged theft, and assistant chief, arrested for inappropriate messages to a minor.
Wow.
And there are whispers of worse things being covered up. It's a picture of abuse of power, zero accountability.
So if Rachel was speaking out against this, wouldn't that make her a target?
Makes you think, right? She could have been seen as a huge threat. Silencing her, well, that would protect the status quo.
So are we saying her murder could have been a hit? Ordered by someone in the police?
It's a theory we can't ignore. Look at how the investigation was handled. Crime scene, too clean. No fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses. It's like the killer knew exactly what they were doing.
That's either incredibly lucky or incredibly suspicious.
Right. And don't forget that leaked report. If someone wanted to discredit Rachel, make her look unreliable, that's a pretty effective way to do it.
But why kill her? Wouldn't ruining her reputation be enough?
Maybe. But maybe Rachel had stumbled onto something bigger, something that really threatened those involved in the corruption, information that could take down the entire department.
Wow.
Silencing her permanently, that would be the only way to protect themselves.
It's a dark thought, but it fits with what we've seen.
Exactly. And if the police were involved, it explains the lack of progress in the investigation. They control the narrative, hide evidence, protect their own.
Classic case of who watches the watchman. But what about the district attorney? He named Sheldon as the prime suspect. Doesn't that mean he thought the police weren't involved?
It's tricky. Rachel's parents, they've been very critical of the DA. They accuse him of using the case for political gain. They think he downplayed the corruption angle at first to avoid upsetting voters, only named Sheldon when the public pressure got too much.
So even the investigation might have been influenced by politics and personal agendas.
That's what it looks like. And it adds another layer to an already complicated case. We're not just dealing with potential criminals here. We're dealing with a system that might be protecting itself, truth be damned.
Okay, so we've got a possibly obsessed student, a jealous ex, and a corrupt police department, all centered around this young woman's death. It's a lot to process, and I'm sure our listeners are wondering, what does this all mean? How do we make sense of it all? You know, it's easy to get lost in all the twists and turns, but we can't forget, there's a young woman, her life was cut short.
Yeah, Rachel Delando, she was more than just a victim in some true crime story. A daughter, a teacher, a friend.
Right. The episode really highlighted how that leaked report, it wasn't just an invasion of privacy, it was like a public humiliation.
It really makes you think about responsibility, especially with information online these days.
Yeah. Who's accountable when something like that gets out and the damage it does?
And we still don't know why it was leaked. Were they trying to expose something, or was it revenge?
Maybe even trying to control the story.
It's possible, but it shows how information can be a weapon and the damage can be, well, permanent.
It's true. And then there's the whole issue of trust, or rather the lack of it, throughout this story.
Yeah, Rachel didn't trust the police. Her family questioned Frank. Even friendships fell apart.
It's like a domino effect. When trust disappears, it's hard to know what's true. Everyone's a suspect.
Exactly.
The episode called Aliquippa, a town full of secrets. And it makes me wonder, is this just a small town thing? Or is it, something bigger?
That's an interesting thought. In today's world with social media and everything, it feels like everyone's hiding behind a perfect image.
Right.
Creates a lot of suspicion, not just in small towns, but everywhere.
So what can we learn from Rachel's story? How do we deal with a world where information can be used against us and trust is so fragile?
Well, I think, first, we need to be aware. Think about the information we see, we share. Think about how it might affect others.
Yeah.
We also need to think critically, question what we see and hear.
And maybe most importantly, remember that everyone in this story, Rachel, her family, the suspects, the police, they're all human.
That's it. We need to see the human side of things.
So this deep dive, it's been about empathy, looking beyond the headlines.
It's about the human cost of tragedy and secrets and the search for justice.
We might never know the whole truth about what happened to Rachel Delando, but her story reminds us how our choices have consequences, how important trust and accountability are, and how we need compassion, especially in a world where secrets can be deadly.
And if this deep dive has you wanting more, more complex stories, more things to think about, hit that subscribe button. Join us next time for another journey into the deep dive.